Before the November election, President Trump signed an executive order ordering all federal agencies, NASA, Air Force, DoD, CIA, all the alphabets, to release all information, photos, drawings, and accounts of UFOs, and they have 180 days in which to fulfill that executive order. It's not a suggested request. There may be some agencies dragging their feet, but they are legally and constitutionally bound to release that information. At the end of the 180-day time frame that President Trump gave all government agencies, not a few of them, all of them, whether it's Department of Agriculture or whomever, they must release all information. And I think when it happens, it's going to be the proverbial hitting the fan. I think we're going to see some stuff that is going to blow some people away. And I think it's going to be a real eye-opener. And it may be, there's been rumblings that disclosure is coming, that we're going to be told about aliens and we're going to show proof. Why does the media always depict UFOs, flying saucers, as threats? Anytime you're dealing with an unknown, I mean, it could be at night, you hear a stick break as you're walking through the woods and you stop and your heart's just pounding. What is it? It is the unknown that's scary. I think because they have no basis in which to make an intelligent decision or comment, the best thing that sells news is blood and fear. When you see something or hear something about a UFO, they also, over the years, have gone out of their way to call anybody who saw a UFO or describe one a kook, a crackpot, some fool in the neighborhood who's trying to make a name for himself. Or this is Slobbering Joe. I used to see him on the street corner, and he said he was abducted by aliens. And that's how they respond to UFO reports.
Yeah. Do you think the technology that's exhibited in the videos of the unknown craft, like the Tic Tac UFO or the gimbal UFO, are ET in origin or ours?
I believe what has been seen by the U.S. Navy and the Tic Tacs and other unexplained but easily defined, a lot of people have seen them. Are they ours, being human, or are they extraterrestrial? I would have to believe at this particular point, without further information, saying I would believe that they're extraterrestrial.
Bob Lazar stated that he believes that the flying saucer recovered and brought to Area 51 is an ancient craft discovered in an archaeological find. What's your thoughts on these statements?
We're talking about Bob Lazar and his comment that his sport model that he was tasked to do reverse engineering on the propulsion system was ancient. It'd been around for a long, long time. I just read in the news within the last 72 hours that they'd done some extensive carbon dating on the Sphinx. And they're now saying that they figured the Sphinx is 18,000 years old. Not 4,000 or 10,000, 18,000 years. How do they have the technology to do what they did?
Do you think President Biden is aware of the UFO phenomenon and its technology, or is it hidden in a private corporation where the president is not on a need-to-know basis?
Is the president on a need-to-know basis on things that are highly classified? The answer is no. The President of the United States, the Vice President, and everybody that associated with his or her administration they're temporary. They're there for 4 years or 8 years if they're a presidential or vice presidential person, and they're there forever if they're a congressman or a senator. But it's the bureaucrats. It is the civil service who control everything, and it's their bureaucracy that would keep it from the president. President Biden today could not get on Air Force One and say, I'm flying to Area 51, and I'm going to go to S4, and I'm going to go take a look. I'm bringing a news crew with me. And they're telling me, you don't have the authority to come in here. Now that would be you said what? I mean, I'm sure feathers would fly over that. But the President of the United States does not have the authority because he's a temporary employee, as is his cabinet and people that work directly for him. It's the bureaucrats that are there for 20, 30, 40 years that control everything.
What are your thoughts on the ham radio feed and the American Airlines close encounter with a cigar-shaped craft? Tell us how you received that radio feed and the implications of the event.
Here a couple of weeks ago, I got a call from Steve Douglas, very dear friend of mine. He's one of the interceptors, as we call it. And he records all military and commercial radio traffic. He's been an electronic eavesdropper forever. We go out in the desert, and he had a camper with so many antennas on it. It was our own NSA when we go out, and he'd pick up everybody's frequency, whether it's encoded or not. Now, he couldn't uncode the coded stuff, but everything else he could pick up. And he came home for lunch, and all of a sudden he hears this broadcast live, and his mouth just dropped. And he immediately, I happen to be his go-to guy. He says, this is what I got. You got to listen to this. So I listened to it, and the first thing I did was send it to the Cousin Brothers. I figure they have the largest audience. We got to get this out. The FAA came in later in that day or the next day. So this is a prank, and Steve sent all the radio transmissions, probably a half hour before and a half hour after, where they could analyze the fact that this has not been cut and spliced. And then the Air Force came back and said, yeah, they did encounter something we can't explain. Now, the thing about military radar and air traffic control radar, military radar looks for an object that's up there that's going to have a radar return. Commercial radar, it's not really commercial radar, it pings a transponder, and the transponder sends back its altitude, its direction, what the flight number is, what the type of aircraft it is. And so if FAA didn't pick it up, it doesn't mean squat, because the object did not have a transponder. But apparently the Air Force came back and said that it's not one of ours. If it's not one of ours and it's flying over our airspace, over commercial airliners within the United States, it's not from here, it's got to be from somewhere way out of here.